Back here with Chris Mannix. Let's talk about the NBA Finals. Raptors had a chance to close it out in Game 5, but came up just a wee bit short. So tonight, series shifts back to Oracle for Game 6. No Kevin Durant for the Warriors, obviously, but they are still favored by 2.5 points. Mannix, what do you think? Can the Warriors force a Game 7?
I think they can, and I like Golden State in this game. Last game at Oracle Arena, I think the pressure, all of it shifted over to Toronto in this one. Yes, they have a game remaining to win on their home floor, but after losing a Game 5 in the way that they did and having to go to Oracle Arena in a Game 6, knowing that a Game 7 is something that this team, at least on this scale, is not familiar with. Golden State has been in this situation before. They've won some, they've lost some, but they've been in that type of situation before. I think Golden State would have to feel extremely confident going into a Game 7. There's a lot that has to happen. I mean, efficiency is one from their shooters. You need Clay and Steph not only to score, but to shoot an efficient number. You need Kevin Looney to play and to give you significant minutes, especially on the defensive end. But I think it's going to be a wild atmosphere in that building tonight. You know, rest in peace, Oracle Arena. I hope they tear that building down once it's said and gone. But I think it is going to be a great atmosphere, and I think there's a lot of pressure on the Raptors.
I've always been taught by my coaches, never rely on the crowd. He said, you know when the crowd is loud? When you put on the appropriate type of performance, they will cheer. I went to Ohio State, legendary, older crowd. You have to do something to make them come out of their seats. So as an athlete, I don't like to rely on the crowd, because if I'm shooting my jump shot, if I'm catching a pass, the crowd doesn't do that. My skill level and what I've trained myself does that. So you go into a game like this with a false sense of confidence. What do you think Toronto had? You think they had a bigger advantage as home crowd, win their first championship in Canada, Game 5 compared to what they're going to have in Oracle in Game 6? No, I don't believe. This is about which team is better. And if they don't get good minutes out of Kevon Looney from a defensive standpoint, imagine Boogie Cousins, he's got to play 35 minutes on the defensive end. This is the reason why I believe that Toronto, if they get good guard play, because the crowd does not make buckets. When they were on the road, down by 6, Clay, Steph hit those shots. What did the crowd do? They had no effect on the game. What's important about the crowd is the beginning. You can't get boat raced in that first quarter. You can't have them score 34 in the first quarter and you score 22. No, you have to be able to come out, and if they're able to win quarter number 1, which would be quarter number 15 for them, they've outscored out of the 21 quarters, they played 20 so far, then you can believe the Toronto Raptors, because they've outplayed them. They're a better basketball team without Kevin Durant. That's why we picked them. I believe that they get it done in game number 6 and end it.
And that first quarter, we haven't had a Game 6 in the NBA Finals since 2016, when a team in the Cleveland Cavaliers had been down 3-1. They win Game 5 on the road. They come back home for Game 6. And if people remember that game, that's the game Draymond's back. That they're all of the, you know, after the 1-game suspension, LeBron had just dropped 41. And it's the biggest game in the history of the city of Cleveland in that building. And the Cavs opened the game 31-11. And it was over. And I mean, the Warriors actually outplayed them late. They made it a single-digit game late in the fourth quarter, and then Steph got called for a foul and got so upset he threw his mouthpiece, gets kicked out. But it was over. You can't fall down 20 points a finals game. You just can't. The opposition's too good. I don't think the Warriors are going to go up 20 on Toronto. But if they're going to win, it has to be, like you said, 34-21 after 1. It has to be that the Raptors have used 2 timeouts because it's 11-2 to start the game. That is where I believe the crowd in the NBA can have an effect. That opening momentum, and then the game falls into place. But let's just assume for the moment, first quarter's relatively even, 4 to 5 points in either direction. Then it's going to come down to how many minutes can Steph, Clay, and Draymond play? Can all of those guys play 44-plus minutes? Because that's what the Warriors are going to need. We know what Steph's going to bring to the table. We know what Clay's going to bring to the table. And for the Warriors to have any chance, we have to have an idea of what Draymond can bring to the table. Everyone else, you can't be relying on, is this the game Quinn Cook hits a couple threes? You're not going to win that way. In order to win a Game 7 on the road, you're probably going to need everything I just mentioned, plus Quinn Cook hit a couple threes. But for this game, can your 3 healthy-ish stars play almost the entirety of the game and combine for something like 85 points, that's the Warriors' path to victory.
Well, that's what it seems like it's going to come down to. How important is it for someone not named Steph or Clay to step up and at least give you something in this game tonight?
I think it is important, and it's not the same thing, but I go back to that fourth game of the Portland series where you had Alfonso McKinney playing well in that game. You had Kevon Looney playing well in that game. I don't think, I agree, you're going to have to get 40-plus minutes from your three main stars, but this game is going to be one for Golden State because somebody else out there makes some shots. Maybe it is Quinn Cook. Maybe it's Andre Iguodala having a better offensive game that he's shown for most of the playoffs. Maybe it is Kevon Looney having a double-double of some kind. But when we sit here tomorrow, and if Golden State won, I think a big part of it's going to be because an unheralded player had himself a really good game.
How much of you, my biggest concern if I'm a Raptors fan is the hangover from being that close to a championship. We've talked about it a lot. I haven't heard your opinion on it. How much of an effect of how, it's not like they just got thoroughly outplayed and blown out in game number 5. They had a 6-point lead, 3 minutes left. How much do you think, if at all, that impacts tonight's game?
I think it had, not on Kawhi Leonard. I mean, Kawhi is just not wired that way, and he's been in this position before. But I do look up and down the roster, and I look at Kyle Lowry, who has had some clunkers in the playoffs. I wonder how he responds after that moment. I mean, not only just missing or being that close in the game 5, but missing that shot at the end, which would have won and made him the hero of the entire series. How does he respond against Steph Curry in this particular game? Pascal Siakam, a young player, how does he respond in this particular game? The guys with finals experience, the guys like Kawhi and to a lesser degree Serge Ibaka, and even Marc Gasol, I'm not all that worried about. But the younger players, do they have one of those games like Siakam's had in the postseason where they shoot a low percentage and that opens the door for Golden State to win?
Watch what Kawhi Leonard does in this game. He's going to go out of character. He's going to be far more aggressive. In spurts, we have seen him in the first and in the third quarter try to take over the game. He is the heartbeat of the organization. The coaching staff said it. That Kawhi said this is just practice. Wait till we get into the playoffs. And they have taken their beats from him. They don't take their characteristics from Nick Nurse. And Nick Nurse has done a great job adjusting. I'd like to see what he's going to do in game number 6. But Kawhi Leonard, man, he is going to lead them, and at that beginning of the game becomes very important that he's aggressive.
All right, we got to take a break. Mannix, we'll see you a little later. Coming up, will Tiger Woods inch closer to Jack Nicklaus' record? That's ahead on First Things First.
I'm running out of low-level Celtics to talk about.
I know.
At this point,
well, we can tell.